Hello and welcome to the Live Life Extraordinary podcast. I'm your host, Bianca DeLuco. A few weeks ago, when I was sitting with the idea of relaunching the podcast on a more consistent basis, I had all these ideas of things I could talk about, things from hacking your motivation and your energy to wellness routines and all sorts of things like that. And today's topic is not something that was on my list, but it's something I'm currently going through and something I've been going through for a few years that I felt like as I'm coming to clarity and as I'm learning some new lessons in this area of my life, that maybe they can be applicable and helpful in your life as well. So today we're going to be talking about why small steps lead to really big changes and how sometimes even just making a 1% change in your life over time can start to create massive shifts in your life overall. So I have a big dream. My big dream is to speak on stages like Gabrielle Bernstein or Brene Brown or someone else. And when I think of this dream, when I close my eyes and I think of this dream, I can see myself. I see the stage, I see myself in the room, I see the clothes I'm wearing. And every time I come back to this vision, it's the exact same room. I'm in the exact same outfit. I'm doing the exact same thing. Ironically, I'm not even physically on the stage in my vision. I'm doing something kind of more in the crowd. And during COVID, I put a lot of time and effort into trying to grow a speaking career. I pitched myself to multiple different places, many of which I got rejections to, but a lot of places I did receive opportunities to speak. And I had a podcast back then where I not only shared personal stories and lessons, but also invited guests to speak, and I was speaking on other people's podcasts. But it felt like I wasn't actually moving in the direction that I wanted to go in. It was like my big vision was so far away from where I was that all of the steps I was taking to try and make this happen, when they weren't happening in the time frame and the way that I thought they should happen, I was feeling really discouraged and really upset. And so I kind of gave up on that goal and that dream. So the reason that I'm sharing this is that I've been sitting with this goal and this dream again. Like, it's been a consistent thing that comes up in my meditations. I see the same thing every single time. And for me personally, I believe that if it keeps coming up, it must be meaningful in some sort of way. It must be something that I am supposed to be creating or achieving or going after. But I sit here and I think about where I am today and where it is I'm looking to go. And I cannot for the life of me figure out what the path forward is. Am I supposed to be interviewed on more podcasts? Am I supposed to bring guests back here? Am I supposed to pitch myself places again? Am I supposed to launch my book and then speak in regards to what I write in my book? Like, I can't figure out the pieces of the puzzle that fit together to get me from where I am now to where I want to be. And so I was talking to a friend about this on the phone the other day, this big dream. And I'm like, I don't even know if it's like me and my ego that wants it, if it's something I need for personal recognition and for feeling confident in myself and feeling like a leader and an expert in my field, or if it's something that's like actually true and real for me, that it's like a real, true, deep desire for me and where I'm feeling called and where I'm feeling like wanting to go. And I talked about part of my resistance in actually moving forward with this is that a couple of things. One, that I tried so hard before and it didn't happen, and I was really disappointed. And when I was really disappointed, I gave up really quickly. And two, being that the work I do right now is in very small groups, in women's circles, in retreats. And there's a lot of intimacy that happens in small groups, a lot of deep connection, a lot of vulnerability and sharing, things that you would not necessarily have in larger groups of people of hundreds or thousands of people. And so I was saying how I was afraid of losing that energy when you have a large group, that it's impossible to have that level of connection and intimacy when you have that many people. And what I realized was when you're in a large group of people, the intention and the energy isn't the same. It's like assuming that you would have the same benefits from yoga as you would from lifting weights. Sure, there's some overlap, but they're two totally different experiences that provide two totally different things. And so I knew what the benefit of small group was, and I started to think about what is the benefit of being in large groups. And the benefit of being in large groups is the energy, is the inspiration, is the empowerment, is the uplifting. So both very necessary and both very equal and extraordinary parts of the work that I do, but in different capacities. And just if I do one doesn't mean I can't do the other. I feel like this is a lot of backstory, but it'll all make sense in a minute when I share. So I was journaling on this the other day. The idea of I just don't know how to get there. I keep seeing the vision clear as day, and I just don't know how to get there. And what came out in my journaling session is one small step at a time. Is you don't have to see the whole staircase in order to just take the first step. Sometimes you just need to know what the first step is, and then the second step becomes clear shortly after. And so I felt like because I didn't have a clear picture of how, that the what was seemingly impossible. And then I remembered that back in like 2018, I had this dream of hosting retreats. I had a dream of traveling a lot. I had a dream of having a 6-figure business. And I could not for the life of me figure out how to make that happen. And so I didn't actively try towards it. And then I closed my studio during COVID, took a real step back from all the work I was doing. And when I reopened my studio 2 years ago, I woke up one day towards the beginning of this year and realized that that big dream that I had, that I could see and I could feel, was my reality, and that I didn't have to have the whole thing mapped out. I didn't have to have a clear picture of the how it was going to happen. I just knew that it was part of my life and my purpose and my mission to make that happen. And it was one small step after another. It was one local retreat, followed by one destination retreat, followed by one international retreat. And before I knew it, this year, I've traveled almost every single month of the year, something that was a so far out there, outlandish dream of mine that I never actually thought would be possible while running a business, while maintaining family and relationships, while taking care of my health, while whatever else. And I realized if I look back right now on the last handful of years that have gotten me to that place where it was just a dream, to this place now where it's full reality, I couldn't tell you all of the steps that I've taken that fell into perfect place to get me to this place. And so if in hindsight, in retrospect, I can't look at the last several years of my life and pinpoint each of the steps that got me from point A to point B, it would be ludicrous to think that I can picture all the steps from point B to point C. And so I think the point of this is, if you have a big dream, a big goal, a big vision for yourself and for your life, whether you want to start a podcast or write a book or create art or launch a career in music or whatever it is that you feel like you want to do and you can't figure out how to do it, the best advice I can give you is to listen to your intuition and follow where you feel called to go each and every day. Rather than having a 20-step plan for the next handful of years of your life that are completely clear on how to get from point A to point B, just take the first step and trust that once you get really in the groove of step A or step 1, that step 2, point B, will reveal itself. And the other thing that's become really abundantly clear to me in this is that when I was trying to go from A to B overnight, every time I wasn't at B, I was waking up not at B, I was really discouraged. And it made me feel like I wasn't good enough and I wasn't capable and it wasn't possible. And so I gave up. So I think overall, it's better to make 1% progress every single day and compound that progress and gain confidence and motivation and wisdom and experience along the way than it is to wake up overnight going from point A to point B, or wake up overnight expecting to have that 100% progress and having that 1% progress and being discouraged by it, and then giving up and each day having 0% progress. Because when we give up, 0% compounded over time by not trying or by not taking those steps is always going to be 0%. But 1% compounded over time grows exponentially over time. I think as human beings, we overestimate what we're able to achieve in a year, and we underestimate what we're capable of achieving over 5 years. So if you haven't started and you're not sure what all the steps are, it's not too late for you to take one powerful, impactful, important step now that starts to bring you in the direction that you're looking to go. Interestingly, in all of this, I have launched a women's wellness summit, which is sold out right now. And as I've been visualizing the summit and how this day unfolds with myself and other instructors, I was driving in my car and I realized that this is the first step on the staircase, that we go from 10 to 15 people in a yoga class to 40 people at a summit to 100 people speaking on stage. It compounds over time. And so the other thing I'm really grateful for is that a friend of mine had said to me, I know some people in the city. We can go down to the city. We can put together a workshop there. It would probably be a lot of people who are very affluent, who can compensate you in a very abundant way. And I was instantly scared. And I was like, no, I can't do it. Which was interesting for me because I sat there and I'm like, you have this dream and this goal and this vision that you've been discouraged by not reaching. And now an opportunity presents itself and you're like, hard stop. I'm not interested in doing it. Why is that? And I think part of it is as we're growing in life and as we're getting closer to those big dreams and those big visions, if your nervous system isn't ready for it, you're going to self-sabotage. If you feel not good enough, if you feel incapable, if you don't feel intelligent enough, if you don't feel prepared enough, or like you have the right skills or whatever it is, going from point A to point C is like too much of a shock to our system. And that's where we self-sabotage. That's where we say, no, I'm okay, I'm not going to show up. Or we goof up in what we say, or we fall short. So I think truly that those tiny, minuscule, almost undetectable, small steps that we can take that move us towards where we're looking to go, gives us the opportunity to grow alongside of our dream or vision. It gives our knowledge an opportunity to grow, our skills an opportunity to grow, our confidence, our community, all an opportunity to grow along with us as we're moving in that direction. So if you have a big goal or vision that you've given up on because it doesn't feel possible, my hope for you is that you can start making just 1% change, that you can consistently. I heard this quote a long time ago that said, it isn't what we do occasionally that matters, it's what we can do consistently that matters most. So it doesn't matter if you can occasionally create a podcast episode or occasionally write a few chapters of your book. What can you commit to consistently doing that will help you learn and grow along the way so that as you move closer to this vision of yours, that you are more prepared and more equipped as you move in that direction. So I, for the very first time in my life, am at peace with where I am and the knowing of where I'm going without knowing how I'm going to get there, but trusting that my skill set and my lived experience and my perspective on life and my intuition are enough to very gently and easily move me in that direction. And so I hope that my story can be an inspiration for you as you're creating whatever is next for you in your life. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. If it does inspire you in any way, feel free to share it online or share it with a friend who you think could benefit from it as well. If you have any questions or any topics you'd like for me to cover on the podcast, feel free to send an email to info@biancadeluco.com. I'm definitely looking for questions and suggestions to be able to bring to the podcast to make it more of a conversation versus me just sharing what I think you want to know about and what I think you want to learn. So I'm really honored that each person who watches this takes time out of their day, out of their lives, away from their families, their careers, their hobbies, their rest and relaxation, whatever it is that you're busy with, to tune in and hear my perspective and grow with me. So I thank you so much for being here. And I cannot wait to connect with you again soon.